and good evening, good afternoon. You are watching the Policy Times Unleashing India Global Web Summit series. Now, Policy Times as a media come policy influencing platform has been committed since last 4 years to bring issues which are of national development importance and to connect different people from different domains so that we can build synergy, collaboration, cooperation to benefit our respective countries and nations. Now, COVID has done tremendous havoc, but we are recovering from it. And very soon, the world will be in a complete new normal. And in new normal, while the online or digital or digitization will be an important platform to connect with the whole world, physical connectivity in the new normal is going to bring much more results and outcomes. Reason being, a lot of physical meetings were time consuming, but post pandemic, this kind of hybrid model is going to bring much more value to our negotiations, discussions, and exchanges. Now, today, I'm really honored as editor of the Policy Times to get connected with 3 Malaysian joining us in this program and to talk about their life, their experience between developing, establishing a seamless synergy which already exists between 2 of the outstanding nations of Asia, India and Malaysia. India, a global haven for many things, having immense, unlimited potential. Next 30 years belongs to India. Now, how India leverages it will be an interesting facet to observe, and how and what role we will play in it will be, again, a very interesting thing to observe. Malaysia, one of the most beautiful nations of Asia, especially the ASEAN belt. The country has grown tremendously. It is one of the Asia's education hubs. It has done excellent work in the field of education. Now, the country has also been emerging as another commercial or business hub for the ASEAN belt. And now it is also one of the best countries to live in and stay for life. It is almost like a heaven in its own way. So today, in this discussion, we have 3 eminent speakers. We will try to understand what synergy can we explore. So we have a combination of actually the elders as well as the young entrepreneur, Mr. Naresh. We will hear from him that how he sees India-Malaysia relations in a completely different format. This show is chaired by Dr.P.Sekhar, who is also chairman of Unleashing India Global Smart Cities Panel. He has been dedicating his last couple of decades to provide new solutions for nation building and national reincarnation. So with this, I'll be very excited to hear the show. I want to hand over to Dr. Sekhar to quickly take it forward.
Thank you, Akram. Today is 147th show. As generally informed, this was started last year, May, as post-COVID. And when we say post-COVID, means we were talking of last March. We are not talking of any end to COVID. COVID is one more health disease, and we have started it as a post-COVID, because post-COVID means we are all going back into the development phase. We are back into growth phase. We are back into good planning phase. We are back into making the world a good place to live for the people and for all the environment associated with the development and the people's growth. As we all know, today's topic, as Akram said, is on Indo-Malaysia relationship going forward with strategic innovative planning for national reincarnation. Okay, a slightly complicated topic. Let me explain that national reincarnation means both India and Malaysia. We are talking of not India alone. And we are talking of the growth between the 2 countries and individually by both the countries. Now, since we are talking of India and Malaysia, it is better to have a little idea of India and Malaysia. The whole presentation I'll do within the next 10 minutes, including introduction of the speakers, so that we give maximum time to the speakers whom we are all eager to listen to. But some overview about them and about India, importance of India and Malaysia relationship, that's what I will cover, so that it gives a prelude to the whole discussion. Now, India, as you know, is 1.3 billion people. Malaysia is 32 million people, less than 10%. Whereas area-wise, they are about 10%. And it's a highly literate place. It's a beautiful place, like Akram said, and it has got many things which are all huge opportunities. And India is a land of only opportunities. Now, many of these things we are starting post-COVID. Even in COVID, both the countries have suffered and not suffered because there's an exaggerated suffering. Because the COVID in both the cases has affected very large number of people and killed very less number. But the way it is exaggerated is out of bounds. Yes, we all have to take care because of the fear which it has spread. But take advantage of COVID for this type of closeness which it is brought, intercontinental, in fact, even inside countries, people are more close post-COVID, and leave alone intercontinental and inter countries. So with all the thing about COVID, we have to see that this is not within our hand to know that one more COVID won't come, one more. But we have to grow. Growth has to be the phenomena. That's the only thing which can. That's why humans are there. As we all know, humans are born with brain to take care of the world, take care of the growth of the world from all angles. Now, when we talk of India, Malaysia, next many slides, I may read only the headline and give very small preview of the things which are the body, because it's only to see that, we give an overview of what is going to happen. And India-Malaysia relationship, yes, it is age-old relationship. It has been extremely good and warm. And Indians have settled in Malaysia almost 200 years back. And very nicely today, both the Indians who are there are actually born in Malaysia. They are all Malaysian citizens. They are born in Malaysia, and they are of Indian origin. Indian origin almost, decades ago. And Malaysia as such has got various good environment, good capabilities, and more of everything, good relationship with India. So Indian overseas Indians in Malaysia, as you can see in the next slide, even Indians are there at the high level of political places, and Indian culture, Indian heritage, they are all highly welcomed in Malaysia. People say that one of the biggest temple is there in Malaysia, which shows, which says many things about the country, that people, the way the people love India, and the way people welcome India, and the way Indians contribute to the growth. They are not welcoming for nothing. Indians are contributing, and Indians in Malaysia consider Malaysia as the number one country, India as the number two. So we are all like, their country of origin and country of stay. Country of stay is more important than country of origin. And that's what Indians in Malaysia do. And for them, Malaysia is number one, India is number two in terms of, their importance. Now, India and Malaysia have got a total trade of about almost about $6 billion. And that needs to be highlighted. In fact, in my own presentation, I'm saying it should go to 100 billion in 10 years time. So it is not because some number game, because it is a need of the hour, because the expectancy is very high, the opportunities are many. Then only both countries need to give good employment to the people, good sustained skill to the people, and we are all to serve the world in terms of the output which India and Malaysia can bring. This is not a dreamy figure, as you can, as I want to clarify to you, because 6 and 100 are too much of a difference. I know that. But why I'm just saying is not to be surprised by that figure, because at the end, because that's the last slide. Okay. So I'm just first only telling what I'm trying to put in these slides. So there are many Indian companies in Malaysia and many Malaysian companies in India, all doing well. Many infrastructure projects in India have been done very proudly by Malaysian companies. Many Malaysian investors have come to India, and Indian generals are investing their time, energy, money inside Malaysia. And these are all, Malaysia itself is recognized as a high technology, growth-oriented country. It is not one of those countries which is looking for, freeness from anybody. Whatever it does with its own capability. And again, I will not go into these slides. I'll just go quickly to the last few slides. These are all growth. These are all available. India is on a $5 trillion, growth plan. As we all know, even our $5 trillion growth, we are today around $2.5 trillion. And overseas Indians themselves constitute an additional $1 trillion, which is all very good and advantageous for India. And India being a country of various opportunities with so much of population and so many peoples throughout the world, and so much specialization, and so many CEOs of topmost world companies are all Indians. And again, they consider the country of stay as number one, India as number two. So with that purview, Indians are very much welcomed anywhere they go, because wherever they go, they first work for the place where they have gone. then only the balance for themselves and the country of origin. So that being the case, these are certain numbers which are there in terms of justifying why what I'm going to conclude that yes, India and Malaysia can get into very different growth platform, growth strategy, growth thing. So even on education front, almost 3,000 Malaysian students are studying in India and 1,500 Indian students are studying in Malaysia, which is a very, very warm relationship between India and the thing. Over 30% of the doctors in Malaysia today have studied in India. It's again extremely good thing. So there are a lot of facts and figures. There's only to show that many of the facts and figures justify a closeness of the relation, justify an accelerated target for the two countries, and justify the way in which the two countries can grow, the way in which the two countries can get into a more strategic mold of taking advantage of the relationship to offer more to the world at large. Because the world at large, especially after the Chinese fiasco, is looking at countries like us to go together to give what the world wants. So while talking of all this thing, as like I told, I'm talking of 100 billion, which is very, very high, and knowingly it has been put. Now, we will say, how do we get the money? So here is a system called secured governance. This is a doctrine of secured governance, where self-sustained growth of economy is possible, where money need not be put by the government. Money will come from the system in terms of the value addition which it creates. So there's a very intricate system in which some of the very largest projects in the world are taking place through the secured governance system. Secured governance system is the one by which many smart cities can be built, many islands can be formulated, many coastlines can be made into a development center, and it has started giving very, very good results. So this is through value and valuation. So the value which is created is captured. So here we even try to say what each sectors can contribute to Indo-Malaysian relationship to give the dreamy figure of $100 billion between the two countries, with all the needed skill development, the needed development for ensure that good employment is given, good export is given between the two countries, so that the two countries, it is not a one-sided relationship. It is almost equal between the two countries. And the last slide is that with all this thing, we should not forget the GDP is not the only way for the two countries to be seen. Happiness index has to be seen. So I always conclude my thing by saying that while doing all GDP calculation, please do not forget the happiness and the joy of the people. The joy of growth is the one which will get GDP into a different level. With that, I conclude my talk, and let me now introduce our three speakers today. I will start initially with Dr. Pitchay. He proudly is a 64-year-old man. Otherwise, I would not like to say his age, but he's always proud of his age. So I'm saying, and he is somebody who is born and brought up in Malaysia. He's Indian origin, and he knows more about India than many Indians do. And I would like him to request him to first say a few minutes, 5 minutes about himself. Each one will talk 5 minutes on themselves. Then it will be more of Indo-Malaysian relationship. So first him. Second is our Professor Khaeruddin, a very renowned academician and international speaker. And he has come before in our show and has made a very good dent on us. So I said, how can I have Indo-Malaysian event without him coming? So he is coming between two, Indians of Malaysian origin. Third, of course, is my youngster called Naresh. He is he's an extremely bright entrepreneur, managing a range of hospitality centers. They also have presence outside Malaysia. So I would like all the three of you for the first 5 minutes to talk about you all, the personal growth of yourself, and then we go into actual Indo-Malaysian relationship. The time is till 3 o'clock. We'll stick to the time. Dr. Pitchay, please start.
Very good afternoon to all of you, especially Dr. Sekhar was the man who is behind the Unleashing India, and Akram, the Policy Times. Let me say about me, I am Dr. M.C.Pitchay. By profession, I'm a corporate lawyer, and I also have a degree in business administration. That is where I got my doctorate degree. And I'm a Earlier, I was 18 years in the government service as a public health inspector. And I left my service back into business, and then I read my law. And now finally I got a degree in the Doctorate of Administration as a business consultant. I was an active trade union leader for 18 years with the government. And I was also the agency manager for Life Insurance Corporation. And today I'm doing my corporate freelance consultation for corporate companies. And I've initiated a group known as Indian Malaysian Global Commerce Federation Business Community Group. And what my intention here is to connect all these people all over the world, the Indian diaspora, especially the PIOs, people of Indian origin, to do business with India as well as other parts of the world. Malaysia, as you know, on the historical perspective, is a multinational, multiracial country with diversity of races, religion, and culture. So I'm proud to be a Malaysian. I'm proud to be born as a Malaysian. And there are a lot of scopes for Malaysia and India to work together. And most of our cultures are more or less similar. I hope we will be building up a very big connecting bridge with India and Malaysia. And especially we have now vibrant and dynamic leader like Naresh, who will be the future entrepreneur. I think we are getting old and he's getting younger. So anyway, our experience we will be sharing with everybody, and with the professors' presence here, we are going to know more about Malaysia. Thank you very much for the introduction.
Thank you, Dr. Pitchay. You saved 2 minutes in your 5-minute talk. Very nice. So that we will compensate you by giving you extra time the next round. Professor, we are all very eager to hear from you. Your purview about Malaysia, India, Malaysia, and Malaysia to the world, please.
Oh, with me now?
Yeah.
Okay. Good afternoon. Where we are now, it's almost 5 o'clock. Thank you again, as usual. I don't know whether this is an appreciation or this is what you call looking at me, to contribute, or it's more like a punishment to me. Because Akram and Dr. Sekhar have been listening to me, I think, way before the pandemic, if I'm not mistaken. I lost track, actually. I lost track of the number of webinars that I've been speaking from diverse...
But listeners will be different. So please go ahead as if it is first time.
Yeah, okay. But I've been, in various, subject. But yes, Dr. Sekhar, today is different. Today we want to share what is it to choose the word of what Bloomberg is saying about about the future between the US and China. That I like the word they use, strategic coupling. So today, when we go to the crux of what our discussion, we will have that at the back of mindset. But just quickly, 40 years I have spent my life. I am, I think, the oldest among all of you. I'm not sure about Dr. Sekhar's age, but I'm 67. I just turned 67. Okay. And 40 years of, my first job was at Oxford University Press. Okay, and my colleagues were all over the world. I work closely with OUP India, Japan, and of course UK. We have our meetings in Oxford those days. Then I was with the university cooperative. I was CEO of the university cooperative. But most important thing is that my favorite of all the places that I worked before is the Malayan Railways, because you know why? That's when I worked with a lot of Indians. I work with Indian Railways, and that's where I already saw, the contribution that India has to Malaysia. And I remember when I was our director of training, when we were there, 60% of the employees at that time in Malayan Railways were Indians, Malaysian Indians. Okay. And okay, then after that I was with I wasn't long there. I was then airlifted. I was headhunted, and I joined PNB, or the National Equity Corporation. And that's where, I moved from transportation, logistics into fund management. And while I was there, I wasn't long in where I was special assistant to the group CEO. Okay, I was preparing the strategic paper, the direction of what should we do, where we go next, and we did a management buyout of the IT outfit, and that changed my life actually completely. But the interesting thing is that the learning that I went through, the management buyout process. Actually, me and my chairman, we were single-handedly doing it. When the rest of the shareholders, the guys were just waiting, for their shares, blah, blah, blah. But we were doing it, okay? And I got the Prime Minister at the time to sign it. Okay, that's the beautiful part, okay? And then we brought the company for public listing. I had an interesting experience. So we worked backwards, 15 months until it was, but that before I finish, and hand over to you, Dr. Sekhar.
Yeah,
the interesting part of it is that while I was in all this corporate life, I was actually I was teaching. I was an academic in my own right, and since 1999, I think 2000. I was, while people were playing golf, I was with my MBA students at UTM and a few business schools in the country teaching MBA students, and many of them, alhamdulillah, are holding high positions. Okay, some are retired, but many are holding senior positions actually now in the government. So now, if I want to do anything, I'll just pick up the phone and say, "Hey, bro, hey, Prof, see, they remember me." That's a beautiful thing. Okay, with that, okay, I can go on, but with that background, I now pass it back to Dr. Sekhar.
Thank you. Yeah, it is very nice. The lucky are the students who must have learned from you. And I'm sure they really love to give back to the teacher. In India, we say Guru Dakshina. Guru Dakshina means giving back to the teacher for whatever they have done. Is something of a gift. Now is a youngster. Okay, Naresh, lot of expectations from you. We are all oldies in our above 60. You are an youngster below 30. Yes. How India, Malaysia. Now, first you talk about yourself. After that, you talk about India, Malaysia. Yeah. A little about yourself, whatever way you want to.
A very good afternoon to all. Honorable Dr.P.Sekhar, Chairman, Unleashing India Global. Honorable Mr. Akram, I think he's not here. He's here, right? Founder, editor, The Policy Times. Distinguished speakers, Dr.M.C.Pitchay from Malaysia. Professor Khaeruddin Sudharmin from Malaysia. I'm Naresh, I'm the director of the Light Hotel. I completed my degree in business admin. Then I joined my dad right after finishing my degree. We have few restaurants in Malaysia. So first I was with him doing finance, helping him out over there. Then I joined, we had a plan to start up with a hotel. So I was with him from the zero, starting up the hotel. So we came up with the Light Hotel, which is a 5-star hotel. It's in Penang. Actually, it's a big honor to learn from him. I would say, I actually learned a lot from him. Then I'll be I'm forever indebted to him for giving me such a great responsibility, and truly honored to be a hotelier. But that's all about me.
Okay. Second round, you can. Don't worry. Yeah. Now, Dr. Pitchay, now mic is yours. Next 10 minutes, whatever you feel, India, Malaysia, you got such big dreams. You have got such big dreams, enthusiasm. Left to yourself, you will be a runner, marathon runner between India, Malaysia, and the way things have to grow. Like you rightly said, yes, I am a Malaysian first, which is what is the spirit which is expected of people like you. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon to all of you. I'm proud and humbled to take this opportunity to thank Dr. Sekhar, Mr. Akram, and my fellow distinguished co-speakers, Professor Khaeruddin, Sudharmin, and Mr. Naresh. And from the historical perspective, Malaysia is a special because of diversity of races, religions, and culture. Malaysia is a federal constitutional effective monarchy where the government is closely modeled on the Westminster parliamentary system.
Right.
It's your British rule. And the head of the state or the government is the king, whose official title is Yang di-Pertuan Agong. And we Malaysians have high regards and respect for our king, who is the top man of the country. Even politicians make mistake, he will control them. He has the right as the Agong. And when coming back to our today's subject, as you all are aware that the world has experienced at least 5 dangerous virus attacks from pandemic since 1980 that infected about 1/3 of the global population. And today we are experiencing COVID-19, a great disaster especially for the whole world, where the economy of all the world is being affected very badly, and business people are suffering, workers are suffering, and the whole nation, world is suffering. But we are not today given an opportunity to share about our country. Today we are also in a world of contradiction with growing material wealth and terrorism, as well poverty, unemployment, and widening income gap have all added to the uncertainties of the world. I wish to address Malaysia-India trade ties bilateral relation as a very cordial and growing strong, and which will flourish due to our two relations activeness. Malaysia and India has engaged in various aspects such as defense, economic, political, cultural, and people exchange. Proves that both nations have a close rapid between leadership of two countries. I'm positive that years to come, bilateral relation will further strengthen and reach newer heights. India imports from Malaysia 7.38 billion during the 2020, according to the United Nations Comrade Database International Trade. Statistics of foreign direct investment, FDI in Malaysia, foreign direct investment in Malaysia registered at a net flow of 14.6 billion in 2020 as compared to 32.4 billion in the previous year. And the total FDI expanded to 698.8 billion at the end of 2020. India and Malaysia, we have a very comprehensive economic cooperation agreement, which was signed on 27th October 2010 in Kuala Lumpur. And on February 2011, India and Malaysia signed another landmark free trade agreement, which is known as Comprehensive Economic Cooperation Agreement, CEA. Malaysia has offered market access to India, like basmati rice, mangoes, eggs, trucks, motorcycles, cotton, garments. They are all items responsible for export interest to India. And India imports our refined palm oil. And we have to learn a lot from India, because India is in high academic level of IT education, medicine, high technology, Ayurvedic treatment, and agriculture. With our bilateral relationship and cooperation, fellow Malaysians will be benefiting a lot with our closer relationship. In time to come, we have to connect the bridge between the group, especially the business community and academician also. And we have to learn a lot from India. Malaysia is still young in birth, because even though we got 61 years of independence, but we are still learning from other countries. I think Professor Khaeruddin will be adding a lot on that as an academician. We are very, very, in fact, confident that our working relationship and brotherhood will be very strong and united in every field of people's coordination. Coming back again, India, with such a huge population, is doing very well. And in 10 years' time, India will be the largest economical nation of the world. I think very soon we will be learning a lot from India. And I hope a lot of Indians can come and put in their FDIs, foreign direct investment, as well. Malaysians can go to India and do foreign direct investment. So with that cooperation, we will work more closer and with good relationship, especially our culture. India has Christian, Muslims, Hindus, and other races. Malaysia is similar. We have the Malay population, which comprises about 48%. And we have the Sabahans, Sarabakin, and then we have the Indians, which is very 8% of the total population, and Chinese about 25% of the total population. And with and we have a lot of big prospect in Malaysia. And we will welcome the Indian counterpart to come and invest in our country and teach us what is technology all about. Because Indian technology is a proven track, beyond doubt. There is no question about it. In fact, when I went to India, I bought about 2,000 worth of law books. And those laws are British laws, which I myself, have to find a dictionary to look for what are the words all like. And I think first the East India Company went to India. From there, they come to Malaysia. In 1786, Francis Light brought all the Indians, and the Indians have been staying in Malaysia about 240 over years. But they were known in 1957 after independence only. We know there's a Malaysian Indian Congress controlling the Indian community. I think we have a lot of avenues and prospects to learn from India. And I hope the Indian counterpart will be sharing with us their beautiful ideas and innovative to share with us for business development. I think with that, I'll end up my speech here. Thank you. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Pitchay. Carrying forward what you're saying is that, yes, there is a past history which is extremely good. We are very proud of it. And there is a present aspirations which will be reflected by people like Naresh. And there is an existing, ongoing process, that is Professor who has to, give his stamp on, how well the relationship can exist properly, can expand, can explode. Explode means we and Malaysia, India and Malaysia going and taking the world. Okay, because if you go to Europe, if you go to Japan, there is so much of expectancy, especially from India. I do not know, it may be equal from Malaysia, but at least so many people come and say that yes, we are waiting for India to have a greater access to their whatever technology market, so many things which are very good there and very easily capitalizable by India especially, and India and Malaysia will be a golden goose. So with that, let me request Professor Khaeruddin to give his purview for a very high level of growth between Malaysia and India. Professor Khaeruddin.
Thank you, Dr. Sekhar. Thank you, Dr. Pitchay, for that overview. Yes, I couldn't agree more with you. What you call now. Earlier on, remember I talked about strategic coupling between the US and China. Now, with Malaysia and India, and I've said this recently in many webinars, the number one economy, which I don't think anyone will deny, is already China. When I was in Shanghai, when I look at what they call Shanghai, I was asking, am I in the US or am I in China? They are 5 years ahead. And then I said that a few years ago already, I said, watch out. The three big economic powers of the world. Number one will be China. Of course, number two will be India. This is the awakening of the giants. And then it will be Indonesia. So Indonesia, nobody likes it because at that time, because they didn't have the purchasing power, but they have the what do you call the population. They have almost close to like the US, 250 million. So okay, now I just heard our Ministry of International Trade updated on when I was having my dinner 1 or 2 days ago, and he was saying that there was an increase in foreign direct investment of about 200%, which is quite impressive. And then also, contrary to what that you read about, this WhatsApp, going around, things like that, and also because of the things that are happening, which Dr. Pitchay, you had rightly said so. A lot of people, airlines industry decimated all over the place, the tourism industry, the hotel, everything, all because of COVID. But to me, I always look at it this way. Whenever there are problems, people forget about the opportunities behind it. And then when people see opportunities, people always forgot about the problems that it comes with it. So because these days, I'm very much into risk management. So when I discuss certain things, when I make my analysis, when I make my recommendation, it's always on the hindsight. I'm always mindful of the fact that, don't forget, people don't spend enough time paying attention to risk management. I'll give you a simple example today, okay, just quickly. Before I forget. The minister also said that we are now very selective in foreign direct investment, and we're focusing more now on industry, more of the high technology, which Dr. Pitchay has absolutely and accurately mentioned. Dr. Sekhar, that is where the strategic innovation that can play an important role. And India is known for producing a lot of mathematicians and many of our doctors, as you rightly mentioned. You had an excellent data. I couldn't imagine the amount of work that you did in compiling the data about Malaysia. That was excellent. And you're right, those data are perfect. And probably with some adjustments over time. But yes, it in a sense give a snapshot of the scenario of where Malaysia is. And now, so I think in those areas, and Dr. Pitchay already mentioned too that many people are already there, and this kind of relationship has been going on, but it is not really up to the level that we I wouldn't say would like to. We would like to, but somehow or other nobody is taking it up. So I hope with the discussions like this, the policymakers will be listening to us. The Indian policymakers will pick it up. And then when you want to reincarnate, when you want to do a new policy, and beat the other nations, of course, now you're having your biggest competitor now is China. And then, of course, but it's interesting also, again, coming back to the risk part, you have to be mindful of a lot of possibilities of risk that it abounds. You look at now, everybody is fighting for the Spratly Islands, okay? And then that will disrupt maritime economic movements of goods. And of course, the spread of the OBO and all that. Now, China is really very aggressive. And I'm not sure whether India is as aggressive as what China is doing, economically. So, but having said that, you can do it differently. You can do it in a more, subdued, manner. Not as gargantuan and not as big hoo-ha, so that everybody knows what you're doing. And I think based on a few of the sessions that I already had, this effort by Policy Times and with you and Akram, I think it's a very useful input that is being gathered by a lot of people, thinkers, experts, both in the industry and both in academia, to actually frame up an interesting strategy for India's reincarnation. And I totally agree, or rather I can see that that is happening, and there's a lot of potential in that area. Actually, I have a few slides. Do I have time for that? I just wanted to go through because can I share some slides?
Yeah.
Let me see.
Welcome.
Okay.
Naresh, you will get your time. Don't worry.
Sorry?
I said, Naresh, you will get your time.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Just quickly, give me about 5-10 minutes. Don't worry,
Yeah.
I won't go all, but I just share with you, okay? Can you see my slides now?
Yeah.
Okay, right. I was reading this, very interesting, okay? Okay, this is what I was talking about, the power dynamics, and I was involved in that earlier with Amity University, all right? Don't worry. And then, okay, I came across this interesting white paper and looking at competitiveness, how, OECD countries, You see, they redefine the term of competitiveness to enhance the usefulness for the evaluation of country performance and policy conclusion. So they attempted to establish a definition that's adequate if economic policy strives for new growth paths that is more dynamic, socially inclusive, and ecologically sustainable. Okay, this was done about 10 years ago by OECD, okay? And then, okay, this is the objective market. This new indicator is useful for analyzing countries' progress towards socio-ecological transition, okay? Based on income, social, and ecological pillar. And further, they examine the input side of the competitiveness, which has evolved from a focus on cost and productivity to economic structure and country capabilities. The capabilities of India and the capabilities of Malaysia. How can we, couple that? That's where earlier on I was thinking about strategic coupling. Okay, let's quickly go on. Okay, now for high-income countries, growth and strategic management theory predict that the productivity and capabilities determine long-term economic success. Now, a productivity-enhancing social system and technology-based ecological ambition, which is both relevant to Malaysia and India, can support transition to a new path of development, high road to competitiveness. All right, let me move on. Okay, outcome. Okay, I won't go through this. The indicators. But this one I wanted to. Yeah, okay. This study, when they were doing this working paper, they were focusing on 3 pillars, which I like. Okay, that's what I thought I wanted to share with you guys today. The income pillar, the social pillar, and the ecological pillar. So we are going to got to make sure that the country improves economically, but not at the expense of the people. Both India and Malaysia. So in other words, you have economic growth, but at the same time, you see the ecological pillar. At the same time, you do not contaminate Earth. Okay, of course. This when you talk about ecology, everything comes in. Zero carbon, green economy, and blah blah blah. I think we have been speaking a lot on all those areas anymore. Don't worry, I won't go into that. That will trigger. Okay, so that's it. Okay, now the 5 enablers of change and future growth discussed in modern growth strategic firm theory is innovation, education, productivity, etc. Elements of the social welfare system, ecological ambition, and institutions. So that was crystallized earlier on. Okay, and then they were comparing between the EU, the US, Switzerland, and Japan. Okay, and then they explain. Of course, that's it. I won't go into the econometric details. Okay, otherwise okay, this is part. I wanted to share also, which I spoke on the security architecture, the last session that I spoke with Amity University. I put this, reckoning India as a regional and rising global power. So when we recognize, India recognizes this and we recognize this, so together we can play our role, to help change the whole scenario and then help you to reincarnate. At the same time, I suppose we can reincarnate too in Malaysia. But before that, before I forget, I just wanted to mention 2 things. You remember this global development about AUKUS? You have the Australia, and then you have the UK and Australia, and they Australia, cancel the sub, which pissed off the French, and now you're getting it from the UK. So you see that to me triggers, instability, which has to be careful about. And then what made it even worse? Recently, you have the Quad, which involved India, Japan, Australia, and US. And your Prime Minister was actually there in the White House, and also with the Japanese Prime Minister, but it's no longer I think that was his last trip. But you see, that began in 2004 when we had the tsunami. You see, you have that cooperation, the model already there. So now they are going to extend and move forward. And I believe within the same models, we can use it to enhance strategic innovation and reincarnation for both our nation, Malaysia and India. Only we have to be mindful of the fact that, or put it another way, we should be mindful of some of these things that can trigger a lot of worries and fear. That you see, if you look now, I'm worried. Okay, I watched the Bloomberg every night before I sleep, and if you look at recently of the Evergrande risk, worry, or the contagion risk. And which reminds me when I was in Paris in 2008, remember the financial crisis? And then the property market, the subprime, and many have said what is going on in China is a what do you call it? Lehman Brothers or Lehman moment, or the subprime. Subprime, and also what they call Fannie Mae I remember during those times. So you see, and it triggered the whole global financial crash. Okay, so when I look at it, I say, oh my God, don't tell me that subprime thing is coming up again. But thank God, it's under control as of now, as I'm speaking now. And because China has already pumped into their liquidity market of about 14 trillion, I think, yuan, okay, to help. Because you know how many banks are involved in that? 130 banks all around the world, and 130 non-banking institutions that has been pumping in the money. Can you imagine the effect if it crash? Okay, that's one. And the other thing is, okay, I think I've mentioned most of it. And then of course, but before I go, Dr. Sekhar, if I may just say, the functional consequences of COVID, which is good for India and which is also good for Malaysia. When people maybe don't realize it, the DHL CEO of global CEO, in one of the sessions that I heard on Bloomberg, said that with this pandemic, a lot of things have moved faster, strategically speaking. What we were doing for 10 years to do strategic planning on that, now it takes them 1 year. What took them maybe 5 years to do it, now they can do it in 5 months. So you see the speed and agility of things. Now they're using drones, to send things, both to, I guess, to China and also to India. And these things are happening. And the other thing, the most recent one is interesting. It was that the Queen, Mr. Queen, the global CEO of Hong Kong and Shanghai Bank. You know what I said? He was asked, what about people work from home, not going back and working in the office? You know what I said? Why should we do that? We have built trust. The revenue, the business have grown globally. I'm sure you can take a look again at the statistics of how they were doing in India, despite plus all the other countries. They were doing very well. And he says, why should I tell my people now in Hong Kong Bank, all over the world, to go back to the office? I'm only giving the indication to them that I don't trust them anymore. So that's my last, comment for now. Dr. Sekhar, I'm handing it back to you now.
Thank you. Just only one small comment before I give to Ramesh. See, you asked about China's aggressiveness and India's, whether India can be as aggressive. My perception is slightly different. In fact, I have coined a new terminology for India's growth. India has to be a global soft superpower.
Oh, yes. And I mentioned something about soft.
By what I am trying to coin this word is soft superpower means we will be a superpower, but not because of our military or because of our nuclear capability and because of our, having the largest armed forces.
Right.
We will be a soft superpower because of technology, because of our knowledge, because of our leadership, and because of people like Pitchay and Naresh who are sitting throughout the world, contributing a lot of goodness. And I consider you also as something like our overseas Indian. Because as Indians, we like to contribute to the world. We don't like to take over the world.
Exactly.
The Britishers who came and they took over and they were all kicked away. So anyone who tries to do by power, which China is trying to do, will always face the same. We don't want to face it. We want to live with the world, and we want to live with a growing world. And that's why I ended my own presentation as a happiness index. We have to bring happiness to the world, which will give direct happiness to us. Now, Naresh,
Bhutan delegates will be very happy to hear this because you are promoting the happiness index. You're right. And look, even in the US, most of the big IT giants, all the CEOs are, Indian-born fellows, right? So your strategy or your reading of the soft superpower is accurate. I couldn't agree or disagree more with you.
Thank you. Now, Naresh, your mic. There is no upper limit for time with you. You can.
Sorry, I was a bit nervous just now.
Excellent. Don't worry. Whatever way you want, whatever is comfortable. You are an youngster.
First time I'm talking.
See, you are all there. A future for all of us.
Yes.
So on your broad shoulders, you have two big countries with you. Go ahead.
This COVID-19 has tremendously affected every sector across the globe, and millions of people are falling into extreme poverty. The economic crisis caused by the COVID pandemic is expected to contribute to the global unemployment of more than 200 million people by the year 2022. As per the WHO source, 811 million people were undernourished last year itself. More than half in Asia, more than a third in Africa, smaller proportion in Latin America and the Caribbean. Border closure and trade limitation have been preventing farmers from accessing markets, including buying inputs and selling their produce. Agricultural workers, waged and self-employed, while feeding the world, regularly face high level of working poverty. Further, when experiencing income losses, they have resorted to distressed sale of assets and predatory loans. Travel and tourism industry has become one of the most important sector in the world, accounting to 10% of global GDP and more than 300 million jobs worldwide. In 1950, at the dawn of Jet Age, just 25 million people took foreign trips. By 2019, that number has reached 1.5 billion, and the travel and tourism industry had grown to almost too big to fail. The COVID-19 pandemic has been an economic crisis with terrible effects on developing countries, especially those dependent on tourism. As the government have attempted to control the cases, lockdowns, quarantines, and major limitation on national and international mobility were implemented. This, coupled with the decision of consumers to limit international travel, resulted in a decline of 80 to 90% of tourists compared to the year 2019. As a hotelier, we faced a lot of challenges during this pandemic. We had to follow very strict SOP. All our staffs have to wear face masks, gloves throughout the working period. Their temperature was checked throughout the week. When they enter, you have to check. When exit, also you have to check. Started all our staff, most of our staff leaves, as we didn't want any close contact between them. We'll only allow guests to check in with an official letter from the MITI, which is Ministry of International Trade and Industry in Malaysia. We had to sanitize each room upon a guest checkout. To sustain in this business, we came up with new ideas. We started food delivery service to generate more income. We also started sending packed foods to factories. This is the new norm, which is work from home. As in some houses with poor Wi-Fi connection or with kids around, their jobs will be affected. So we came up with a promotion called as work from hotel. In this promotion, guests will get a good, strong Wi-Fi connection and meals provided with good room rates. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank all the Life Hotel family members for working hard to maintain our standard, because it's not easy to maintain a 5-star hotel standard in Malaysia.
Yes.
According to the IMD Competitiveness Index, Malaysia economy was the 14th most competitive market in the world. The World Bank also listed Malaysia as the 6th easiest country in the world to do business and the 6th most active country for foreign investment by FPM. We welcome India to do business with Malaysia. And I've been to US, Singapore, and a lot of other countries. I've been to Delhi also. It is very proud to see the progress of India. We wish India will come and invest in Malaysia. Thank you again for giving me this opportunity to talk in this forum. Thank you.
Thank you. With an youngster on youngster's shoulder, we feel confident that his future will be good, future will be bright. And as you all know, in my own doctrine of secure governance, we are talking about 200 years prosperity for the human beings. So what all things we should do so that even after 6 generations after Naresh also, the life should be good. Life should be very entertaining, and life should have continuity. Life should have no major uncertainty. At the same time, life will pass through daily uncertainty. We should also know that today, because of so much of studies, people have become so intelligent that they are using intelligence in a wrong way by simulating everything into the worst possible scenario. People do not know that when we are sitting, there are million planets which can hit the Earth and Earth can disappear within few seconds.
Right, absolutely.
Since we know, I'm a physicist, I know that this is an uncertainty in which we are. At the same time, there are enough certainties that yes, we will survive all of them and no planet is going to hit us. So with that, let me have last 2 minutes of each of you, starting from Dr. Pitchay, to have a concluding talk. We will end exactly at 3. Dr. Pitchay, your view on what is it the way forward and what is it the simple thing which has to be done.
Thank you. And it was a great moment with all of you, especially Professor Khaeruddin. He's a very experienced professor. The way he talks, the way he presents, and he mentioned about the reckoning India regional competitiveness. So, and he has taken up a very strong initiative to bring up slides, especially notice of, the thing which is a really high caliber initiative. And we need more such type of meetings. We need to share more in ideas, general perspective of the country. As I always say, Malaysia is a growing nation. Malaysia is still new. And India, they got big giants. And I was got my surprise when I was in Cosmopolitan Club in Chennai. I was really amazed to see all the latest BMW was lying up in that.
Wow.
And I was very surprised. And one elderly man, he came to me and he shook his head and he went and said, but he couldn't communicate in Tamil. He's from Andhra Pradesh. So he spoke to another friend of mine. He's another millionaire who's in the construction industry. I say, yeah, who is this person? He's a multi-millionaire. He couldn't walk because he was 80 plus. But he has to come to the club and sit for a while and go. That is the inspiration he has. That is upgraded. He has to see all the rich cars, the rich people there.
Oh, see.
Club is a rich man's club. And whenever I go to India, by the grace of my good friend, I get a room to stay there in Cosmo Club because of the delicious food. The beautiful biryani, mutton biryani is the best there. What I prove here is when I see all that, the Indian businessman, be Indian, buy Indian. That is the have. And to my surprise, you go to any supermarket, density of population is there. Buyers are there, consumers are there. In Malaysia, it's different. You see, like you can see everywhere Chinese only in the market. Malays and Indians go to small shops because the affordability. I'm really surprised as a Malaysian. I asked my Chinese friend, how come we struggle so much and we are still very backward? You are so rich, can own 40, 50 houses. They say they believe in hard work. They believe in strong discipline. They don't believe in Tidapa attitude. Shekhar, you know what is Tidapa attitude? How would you say that a professor to Shekhar? Tidapa attitude means what?
Can't be bothered. Couldn't care less.
Right. Because they take it easy policy.
Yeah.
Learn from trial and error. And for Malaysia to come up as one of the developed nations, actually, when the draws of 2020, Wawasan Doplu is a vision to make Malaysia, but unfortunately, it was not taken place. We are now, the new poll has come in 2030. Just now, when you talk about, you're talking about the selective FDI, Sony minister, but he's talking cock and bull story.
Oh.
What is selective? What is selective? When people come to our country to invest, we welcome them. You cannot come and tell them, I want to be selective. What selective is he talking about? If such ministers are still in power, the country will go to zero. Economic is very important.
Yeah, I was also a bit stunned when he said that. Selective, investment.
Imagine Singapore. Today, but there was a time when I was in Singapore, it's only 1 ringgit, is 1 ringgit. 1 ringgit Singapore to Singapore dollar is equal to $1 Malaysian. Then there's an increase of 10 cents, 20 cents. Today is 3.3. What is that? A country without any natural resources. Malaysia got its rubber, we got oil palm, we got tin, we got rubber. We have all the natural resources. but we are still down because economic, wrong planning, this thing. Directly, without fear, I'm talking about it. Because wrong type of people are administering. We need people with caliber, like Professor, you can be a minister one day. If you're not
Good.
economic to higher level. No, we must have what we are worried about our generation, our grandchildren. What are they going to be?
Yeah.
Indonesia is coming up very fast.
Yes, I mentioned that on the outset. Yes, very fast. You know what? Okay, since you mentioned Indonesia, if I don't mind me coming in, you know what? This is what makes me really very upset. We have become Indonesia 20 years ago. 20 years ago, they are like us now. Now, look at the advance. In terms of corruption, especially.
My son is an expatriate in Indonesia.
All right.
He's an engineer by profession. He's an operation manager with one of the Chinaman company, palm oil. He's paid about $12,000 US per month.
Wow.
And he was telling me the economy there is boost just like that we need.
Yes.
And less racial. They don't talk about race. They don't talk about religion. Jokowi is telling, please stop about racial. We want more businessmen to penetrate into Indonesia and boost Indonesia's economy.
They have more problem actually. You're right, because they have multi-ethnic, different islands speaking. They still have those who pray to the trees and all that. Besides the normal religion, their problems are even more bigger. That's why Jokowi said don't talk about it. So they have been there if you ask me, they have succeeded in doing that even from the time of Sukarno.
Yeah. I think India is very independent. It doesn't depend on any nation. It goes by itself. And I think after the Prime Minister Modi has taken over, a lot of developments have come. The most important for country is economic development. We need economical development.
Good.
Okay.
Now we will have Professor. You have anything to say?
Okay, right. So let me pick it up from what you said. It's very interesting because I've always made this comparison. I noticed, to put in simple layman's language, I don't know how India is. It would be interesting to know Dr. Sekhar will share again. Okay? I like to put it this way, like in Indonesia, the way they have trained their people to think is, number one is the nation, and then it's you, and then it's your children. Because Dr. Sekhar mentioned about 200 years ago for our children and all that in the future. Now, okay, in Malaysia, it's the other way around. This is my observation. Correct me, I know some of my colleagues may not like it. We are your children first. Okay, number one, your child. You go to a small shop and go and quickly steal one small milk bit because you want to make sure your child has the milk, which is fair actually. Okay, there's a lot of other ethical issues they're talking about. But if you're stealing milk, it's wrong. It's still wrong, right? Okay. Number one is your child, and then it's you. What's in it for me? Dr. Pitchay, what is in it for me? Okay. And then number three is only the nation. Because the thinking is, number one, in Indonesia, and in a few other countries around it, because if anything happens to the country, it will affect you, right? And if it affects you, and then it will affect your children, right? So in that order. So that's how they've been brought, and that's why you have this love for the country. This what do you call it? You would what's the word for it? This love for the nation, that you are willing to sacrifice, pick the gun to protect the security and the safety of your country. So I've always made a simple comparison. So I'm not sure whether that's the same way the philosophy. What you call is being framed in India, because I think in India, the way I look at it is got a mix between they want to follow the British. They have been a British colony like us a little bit, and then they also maybe once they like Milton's what you call thinking about the market, and let the free hands of the market forces of demand and supply determine your success. If you are good, efficient, effective, economical, ethical, you will survive. If you don't have all that, and then you will fail, and then somebody else will come up. That's the American way of thinking. But the other one is Keynes. I'm very much Keynesian, very much British. See where the public officials are important. If you look at the World Bank, and if you look at what you call IMF and on all those things, they are not from the private sector, Dr. Pitchay. They are from the smartness of the thinking of the civil servants, the people in the government. Okay, so that's okay. I suppose there are many like that in India, and also I think there are many like that in Malaysia, which we have not allowed it. And since you mentioned just now, before I forget, our Minister of Human Resource is an Indian fellow, okay, and he's doing a great job. What do you call in Malaysia? Okay, and I hope you'll continue to be. And I hope when whoever gets into the government the next round, make sure that the few ministries allow the Malaysian, Indian, or the Malaysian, doesn't matter whether from which country, but in this case, allow a Malaysian Indian to become a minister. Then I think we are going in the right direction of making sure that eventually we will have the thinking like the Indonesians and the other nations where we all, like the US, it doesn't matter where you're from, but when you go away, you say, sorry, I have my rights. I'm an American. He may be an Indian, or he may be a Chinese fellow, or he may be from Africa, but he's an American citizen. So we haven't come to that yet. You know, see, when I notice, when I go even to UK, when I meet someone, say, Malaysian Indian, Malaysian Chinese. And then I say, oh, I'm a Malay. We have not become and behave like American. I'm an American citizen. What do you think, Dr. Sekhar? Even in India too, yeah? They see, these are some of the, to me, these are fundamental values. Otherwise, we won't achieve all this. We can talk a lot about it. We can do a lot of policies. But if we don't address all these structural defects, systemic issues, then it will be wasting a lot of time. And just before I go away and pass back to Dr. Sekhar, if you look at Malaysia, the Indians have been here for ages. We have the Sri Lanka, we have the Srivijaya Empire, and the Lankasuka, and all those old kingdom. They've been even more than 200 years that someone mentioned this now. Dr. Sekhar, would you believe? And and you can imagine that influence have been here, and you find a lot of Malays in Malaysia. Some of the thinking, some of the way they behave. There are elements of some Indian because of the great-great-grandfather could be from India, and then we have the wife here, and then they have another wife in India. But then when they have their children here, those elements, those positive elements and thinking is there. And I think this is about time that we harness all this for the good of our country, Brother Pitchay, Dr. Pitchay, Naresh. Yeah, and when all that is in place, then we can work very nicely. Help to. That's it. I'm all for it, to reincarnate and then to have a strategic, innovative thinking to push forward so that we will be around for the next 200 years. So with that, Dr. Sekhar, I pass back the floor to you.
Naresh, you have last statement.
Actually, Doctor, we Indian born as Malaysian, Malaysia is our home.
Right.
India is in our heart, Doctor. We are proud of India for its wonderful achievements over the years. Even during COVID-19, few NGO bodies contributed their best to curb the situation. Both countries share various culture and historical. I wish India and Malaysia will continue a very healthy relationship for future generation like us.
Thank you. Good. A good short on this thing. Just to have one small statement before I give to Akram to formally close the session. Yes, as Indian Malaysians are there, but of course India with its vast population has got a complex diversity. Yes, we are a 10,000-year-old civilization. We are there, but we are also 70-year-old country from the time of independence, and we carry forward many positive and negative things from both sides of view. And we are cleaning up the system. We were when we got independence, we were only 27 years was our average age. Today it is 70 plus. That means we are refusing to die. We are just 70 years of independence and we are 70 plus. So that way things are growing. Things are really on a good platform. But with many things which could be negative, which can be improved and which we are improving by the day. We got all the positive things of democracy and many negative things of democracy. We got
absolutely
required. So yes, India and Malaysia will have a very, very long and bright future. India and Malaysia will have a very long-standing human relationship. And I think our human relationship should be independent of government. The moment you bring in government, it brings too much of uncertainty.
Exactly.
We all people like Pitchay should ensure that people-to-people relationship, cultural, lingual, religion, business, technology, everywhere we should be one-to-one. Let us, do it that way. let the government be not a hindrance to the growth, which I'm sure both the government will not be. The moment you go to the government for something, it is just like that cat and monkey story. We will be ripped into pieces and we will not know what we went for and what we are coming with. So I have been in government with all my, and I also even now I work very, very closely with government. But government has got its own limitation because government is not an individual who can take a decision on any side. So government should ensure that there is a positive way forward. Which they will, when you want to do something good, they cannot say we don't want to do something good. So with that, let me conclude my part of the whole thing and my part of the system, saying that yes, to thank the three speakers, and Akram can give the final.
Thank you, Dr. Shekhar. Yeah.
Yeah, you want to say something, Dr. Pitchay?
Last suggestion. Let us have more dialogue section.
Yeah.
Free section
between India and Malaysia.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's right. Because what? We can share a lot of exchange ideas and a lot of facts.
No, we will keep it like a webinar next time.
Okay.
We'll have others also, because the web summit, we are not encouraging others to come because this format is different. We'll have a separate webinar in which we expect others to come, and then that Akram will take care. Yes,
Thank you.
We can.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shekhar and Dr. Pitchay, Professor Khaeruddin, and Naresh, Mr. Naresh. Wonderful perspective shared by you. I'll not extend. I'll not also repeat a lot of the points you have shared. I think me and Mr. Naresh represent this generation, which has what to do based on the suggestions that our elders have. Now, in economics, there is a concept.
You make me feel very old, what do you call it?
Old means experience. So that we have to leverage the experience that we hold and work upon it. So we were discussing with Dr. Pitchay that let us make an action plan based on the experience that you hold. And I was coming to the point for fallacies. When I have a bad experience with a Sardar or a Punjabi, I blame the whole community, that this community is actually not a good or worth community to do business. When I do a business with a Gujarati and it's a good experience, I hold this experience that the whole Gujarati community is good. Okay. Similarly, when I do the similar thing with Tamil Nadu or Kerala or Bengal, this kind of fallacies we develop. The issue thing is, everything has, Dr. Shekhar, it's two sides. Everything has two sides. Now, the good part between Malaysia and India is both countries, which Dr. Shekhar has been talking, is soft power. These both countries represent soft powers. Now, when we say soft powers, what are the areas we should leverage? If we say that let India be the next manufacturing hub of the world or next defense hub of the world, this will be higher expectation. It is not that it is impossible. Or if I say that Malaysia should be the next manufacturing hub of the world, which will take time because Malaysia's blood or Malaysians' blood and culture, this thing represents something different. So we can do wonders in these soft skill or soft areas, whether it is media, whether it is education, whether it is legal services, whether it is tourism. Let us explore those areas where Malaysia and India both have strengths. The second part is both Malaysia and India represents countries which are very soft in nature. They are not aggressive, assertive. So India, since last 70 years, have only sacrificed lands to a tiniest country like Bangladesh. Can you imagine a country, sacrificing its own land and not such small land? It's like hectares of lands to Bangladesh just on a goodwill gesture. Not even Bangladesh can sacrifice such lands to India, despite having no power compared to India. So that is the kind of, softness that India has. And Malaysia too. Malaysia also doesn't invade any country or doesn't have the mentality of, assertiveness. Hence, these two countries bring absolute synergy in promoting soft power. And I think since Mr. Naresh represents the soft power area of tourism and hospitality sector, we can explore a lot. So with this, I will not further. There are three areas if you can collaborate gradually under the leadership of our elders like Dr. Pitchay, Dr. Shekhar, and Professor Khaeruddin, like education, innovation, entrepreneurship, tourism. We need to work on this. And we both are having strengths in those areas. Let us work on that. Policy Times will be extremely happy to collaborate on those lines. Thank you.